My name is Patricia Jumi. I'm the co-founder, managing director here at GrowthAfrica. Passionate about entrepreneurship, passionate about anything Africa, passionate about anything helping young people get access to dignified jobs. And I've been doing this for the last 20 so years of my life, working in different ways to support entrepreneurs, working in different ways to be part of the change, positive change that Africa desires and requires and needs. Um, Fun fact about me, I love traveling. I love getting to know about people, getting to know about why they do what they do. But getting to know it from, I mean, you can put me anywhere. I can be sitting in a boardroom, I can be sitting in a meeting, but I can also be mashinani. Like it's all about connecting with the people and really understanding their why. And I think I enjoy that. People say I'm an introvert, but actually, when I connect with people, I do really connect and I can get people to tell me about what's going on with them. So I love learning new places, learning new communities, and travel is a big part of how I do that. I think in everyone's journey, those moments come from even when you're a kid and you take opportunities. I remember I can give a couple. So growing up, we take advantage of we maybe are casual about holidays and some of these holiday classes your parents put you in. So I was part of a concept that was kind of like Girl Guides ish, but it wasn't really like Girl Guides. But we had like these international exchanges, guys who came from the UK and then would teach in a school and then have this. I think it was called like Youth International or something like that. And I actually joined. I was one of the few people in my school who joined, and because there was this enticement of camping and I went camping. We could go camping, but the things that you learn, that I think was like one of my first experiences of international connections. And then those connections start opening doors. So for me, it just ignited something like me, like in me that, oh, I can connect with anyone. I can talk to different people. And I started creating bonds out of that. And then I think the next one was when I was in uni, and there was this opportunity to be part of the student organization called ISEC. And one person came to our hall or school hall when I was in campus. And they're like, oh, there's this opportunity. And by then it actually cost like almost $100. And we're in campus. Where do you get $100? And then for some weird reason, I just agreed to go with these guys to where the event was holding. And I went for that event, and that event led to so many reasons why Growth Africa actually exists. And then as I was growing as well in my career, I met a client one time, and there was an opportunity where they were looking for emerging women leaders. And there was this one shot. They were only going to take one person from Africa for that. And this client just casually dropped my name somewhere. And out of that, then I got that scholarship. South Africa, we self identify as growth frontiers. Our passion is to, through our vision, is to exponentially increase the rate and scope of success of businesses in Africa or African businesses. And that stems from the fact that for a long time we kept seeing like, oh, when businesses get to 1 year or 2 years, they're going to fold. And that passion was ignited in us, like, why is that the case? We're not seeing this story elsewhere. And Growth Africa also is a result of the background of the partners. So our CEO, Johnny Kelfgard, myself, and Ian Lorenzen as well, which came from, we're all part of the student organization ISEC. If you know what ISEC is, ISEC was about these young people who were trying to change the world. A group of young people came together after the Second World War and were like, we need to do something about what's happening in the world. And I think that kind of built us into that because we're three individuals who just happened to come together and had the same kind of like drive. And the other thing as well was we kept on reading the stories, or if I personalize it, but I know that's the same for all my partners as well, is job creation will come from industrialization, or job creation will come from, agriculture or different things. But we could see the youth bulge in Africa was growing. And the only way for us that made sense was through SMEs, through businesses, because we've seen it elsewhere in the world. And we're like, when small businesses create jobs, then they'll be able to empower others. So our desire was to ignite, to guide, and to uplift African businesses through supporting them in their entrepreneurial journey, helping that leader who is running that SME or running that business to have the tools and to have the confidence to run their business, and then look into the business and say, what do we need to do to change this business? So it came from that desire of also the background of our founder being that he had started an IT company that had grown from Uganda. It started in Uganda, it came to Kenya, went to Bangladesh, Vietnam, Zimbabwe. So just seeing that there was something that had been built and had grown gave us that excitement about doing what we're doing with Growth Africa. So Growth Africa seeks to support businesses to grow, to create the dignified jobs that are required, and also to not only build wealth for the entrepreneurs that are running the businesses, but to also transform the communities in which they come from. I guess bragging is going to be a bit hard, but I think maybe just to come back to the word, or the name Growth Africa, right? So we are all about growing Africa. And as we're having this conversation earlier on, we've pivoted quite a number of times because we've tried different things to say, okay, what is the need? Is it people are trying to start businesses, young people are trying to start businesses, but they don't have a space to work from. So can we offer co-working space? And then with that, we're saying, okay, the co-working space is there, but people also need access to funding. Can we do that? So then we did also SME lending for almost 6-7 years, trying to give funding to small businesses. And then at some point, we're like, okay, now the whole ecosystem has opened up. Those investment coming in from venture capitalists, those investment coming in from angel investors, impact investors with patient capital and all kinds of instruments. But everybody keeps saying the same story. They can't find investment-ready businesses. They can't find the businesses. So now it comes back to our vision doesn't change. Our vision is still to exponentially increase the rate and scope and success of these businesses. But our mission has changed. And so those pivots have been based on what we have seen in the market. What has the need become? Because the need keeps changing, right? And so when we've seen money has come in, which means that there's a supply, the demand, there is money coming in, but the entrepreneurs are not there. So that then led us now to start doing what we're doing, our acceleration activities, and say, can we then build the capacity of the entrepreneurs and the capacity of their businesses so they're able to absorb this money, and this money will enable them grow. And so that has been our journey, finding these ambitious, committed entrepreneurs. At least they've existed for 3 years, have a product and a service that actually is out in the market, have paying customers. We are sector agnostic, but by and large, the sectors that we've seen in all the countries we operate in Africa are agriculture, health sector, education, e-commerce, a lot of tech, IT, we're seeing that, fintech and all that. So we've had businesses that have come through our doors. But I think a disclaimer I can also put for the bragging rights is, it's like raising a child, right? There's someone who plays a role when that person is a baby, an adolescent, a teenager, and all that. So all of us in the ecosystem have played a role in the different stages the businesses have needed us. So we've had businesses that we've worked with over, when I'm looking at our acceleration activities, we've worked with over 400 businesses across 6 countries in Africa where we are established as ourselves. And these have gone ahead to create tens of thousands of jobs, raised millions of dollars in funding and in income generating activities. But at the same time, when we're doing the SME lending, for instance, there we worked directly with 1,800 SMEs and lent over 3 million euros in loans. So the impact is different. So the testimonials that we get back is they are varying. For some, it's like, I didn't know what kind of leader I should be for my business. You've given me the tools on how I can grow this business based on my DNA and the values that I believe in as a founder. For some of them, they've been able to raise money. For some of them, they've been able to raise money and now are having difficulties with the current environment, economic environment that we are operating in. But I think by and large, what has given us the satisfaction or the key milestones I would rather focus on is we haven't had, if we do a survey, 80%, 80 to 82% of our businesses are still in existence, have not shut down. Or if the entrepreneur closed the business, they are doing something else and still using that knowledge that they got. So largely we run what we call like our flagship program, which is our accelerator program that runs for 6 months to 12 months. The 6 months we spend really trying to intimately understand your business and understand you as the founder or co-founder so that we can identify what are the gaps in your business that you are experiencing and what are those challenges that are preventing your business to get to the level that it needs to be at. So typically most entrepreneurs know this is where I am, this is where I want to be. But there are issues in between that are preventing you from getting to where you want to be. So what Growth Africa does is then take them through this 6-month program, which is hands-on, where it's a mixture of workshop-based support and one-on-one. So workshop-based where we come to really understand who you are, what you do, why do you do what you're doing, but with a peer format, because we believe that a lot of the learnings are within the peers. And then our team then does one-on-one where every month we are with you in your business or you're with us in our office and we're going into details as to what is preventing your revenue from increasing, what is preventing you from tripling, for instance, your profits, and are you actually operating efficiently? What is preventing you from operating efficiently? Are you actually utilizing the assets you have to make sure that those are, generating more revenue for you or, turning your business into a profitable venture? So that's one aspect. So where we are running our own entrepreneurship capacity programs. And because we are sector agnostic, then some of our programs then will incorporate all sectors, but we also have programs that are theme-based. So like right now, we're running a circularity program where we are identifying businesses that are trying to solve the waste problem challenge in Nairobi. So that we are doing in partnership with an organization called Climate Kick based out of the Netherlands, supported by IKEA Foundation. So the other level of programs that Growth Africa runs is in partnership or in collaboration with other partners. So we've done this with IKEA Foundation, Climate Kick, we're doing it with Dune. So sometimes we will come together as a consortium and say, can we do something together? We also have a program we're running right now with the government of Kenya, which was how we can promote Kenya as a startup destination and attract investors and mentors and also expose Kenyan startups to the rest of the world. But if you notice those are thread, everything we do must have an impact to the entrepreneur. So we are all about the entrepreneur. But that's why our mission changes, sorry. So I could support you through an accelerator program. I could support you through master classes that we hold. The master classes we hold are helping the entrepreneur on how can I, for instance, improve my sales? How can I improve my HR? How can I go into a new market? And then we have what we call the Gazelle Forum. And the Gazelle Forum is a conversation starter where we bring investors, potential partners to entrepreneurs and connect them to each other so that then the conversation can continue. So in a Gazelle Forum, there are roundtable discussions on what entrepreneurs are facing in their ecosystem, but also they get to pitch their business to an investor or a potential partner. Because what we've seen, much as entrepreneurs are looking for investment, some of them are looking for partnerships. Some of them want to plug in. How can I be a partner to Safaricom, to Unilever, to Coca-Cola, and to all these other people? Or how can I partner with an international player? So this Gazelle Forum is an opportunity to bring the entrepreneurs into that. And then the other thing that we have now started doing as well, and again, reading the reality of our ecosystem and where we are going, is young people, a lot of them are unemployed. Government can only do what they can do. Private sector, large multinationals can do what they can do. So you're seeing a lot of people are not as hesitant to get into entrepreneurship as before. The stigma with being an entrepreneur has actually in Kenya, it's not even a stigma. Maybe in other countries it will be like, what? I paid your school fees. What do you mean you're going to do what? And then, there's been that confusion of entrepreneurship and then business person. Also, you're going to be importing stuff, trading, and all that. So at least there's an acceptability. So what does that mean? It means then that there needs to be an increase in capacity for people who can support entrepreneurs and their ventures. So one of the other things that we do as Growth Africa is build the capacity of enterprise support organizations or innovative support organizations, other accelerators, other incubators, where we build their capacity and give them the knowledge we've accumulated for 22 years. How can you actually build that? Because eventually what's then going to happen is we can start having a common voice. If a partner wants to do something in Mauritania and we've built the capacity of ESOs in Mauritania, then you don't have to leave Kenya to go and set up an office there to do it. Those people can do it. So it's a win-win for everyone. Everybody then builds their own economies and builds their own countries. So that's the other thing we're doing, building the capacity of other people who are supporting entrepreneurs on an organizational level and also on an individual level. We've seen a lot of people now who want this to become their career. Like you actually leave uni knowing that I actually want to go into supporting entrepreneurs, but they need the skills, they need the tools. So those are some of the things we are also doing. And then the last one is data. So we have been in ecosystems where now data is becoming a conversation. Show us what have you been doing. Show us the results. How many entrepreneurs have access to funding? How much funding has been raised? How many investors are in the ecosystem? Who have they invested in? What does success look like? What are the stories? And this data has kind of been fragmented. A lot of it has been available, especially for the tech industry. So if you're looking at fintech, you're looking at agtech, anything tech, the data is there. But when you're looking at the ones they call boring SMEs, the traditional ones, and even those are the ones that create jobs, the boring kawaida businesses, that data is not there. That data has been sitting with Kenya Bureau of Statistics. We need to kind of like bring it into the private sector for. So that's what we are working with. So we are also an aggressive ecosystem builder where we are working with our fellow peers in the ecosystem and saying, hey, we've all been doing this amazing work. How do we start putting these insights, learnings, and data together so that someone else who is trying to do what we are doing does not start the way we did? We've given them the advantage. Because there's nothing to keep secret, really, at the end of the day. So it's more really now having an open ecosystem where we can actually share the learning and the insights that are coming out of that. I mean, the space is growing. It's been, if I look back at when the space really started like hitting it off, I think it was like 2009, 2010, 2011. Those are the times we had like the tech industry was just growing in Kenya. We had your iHub, we had your NILAB, we had what are they called? Startup Savannah, I think that was the name. And we had amazing things. I mean, like any technology, Ushahidi and all those technologies were coming from Kenya. So very fast. And I think the telecom industries, especially Safaricom, helped a lot to really build this tech ecosystem. And the rest who were not in tech were like, oh, so if tech is doing this, because before SME was the boring way of capacity building or whatever, it sounded really like one of those trainings. But now when you look and you see we have ASEC, we have countrywide hubs. The other day someone was telling me we have 226 accelerators and incubators. I'm like, no, that's not possible. And the beauty is like they're not even only in Nairobi. It's moved to different, But coming back to the startup ecosystem in Kenya, it's growing, of course, largely driven by tech. It's been mainly fintech that we've had about. The raises that we've had about have been in either fintech or anything to do with e-commerce. Investors have had confidence in the market. Unfortunately, yes, when COVID hit, then of course the investment landscape changed a bit. There was this winter period of funding. But I think if you talk about Africa startup ecosystem, Kenya must always appear, Nigeria, South Africa, then Egypt. But I think Kenya has really led the pace in East Africa and Africa. And also the beauty also of Kenya has been you're getting talent. You're getting not only talent in terms of coders, software developers, and all that, but even language, even people you can hire in a company. The time difference is not as crazy. So there's been many pluses in the ecosystem. We've seen the ecosystem grow. At least before, we used to have these conversations like, there's someone who looked like me, there's someone who looked like me raised money, but we are seeing it's happened, and we know that it's happening, and we know that we're seeing more entrepreneurs be exposed to a lot of international events, and we have a large number of investors who are settled here. When we're looking at it with the rest of Africa, of course, I can only speak to like the countries where we are in. So Uganda is still coming up. It's not been as aggressive as we're seeing in Kenya. But again, you're looking at also purchasing power. You're looking at the infrastructure that's in a country. But for instance, Ethiopia, Safaricom just going to Ethiopia has just made it amazingly good for a lot of Kenyan entrepreneurs that can move there. The new policies that government has passed, they've opened, because before you could not go into their financial sector, you could not invest in their health sector, but now they've opened that. So that is also one of the things that we give that sets us apart in the ecosystem. We are able then to connect our entrepreneurs to different markets because we're in those markets. So it's easy for me to say, hey, you want to go to Ghana, talk to this entrepreneur in Ghana who can actually give you the lowdown on what's happening. We've had entrepreneurs from Ghana who have come here and they're like, oh my goodness, Kenya, just the way you're thinking, just the fastness, and it's these things sometimes that are not tangible that you can learn. But I can say money is coming in, not as much as it was coming in, but it is still coming in. We, of course, are now in that phase where we can start talking about what does failure mean. So I think startups, in my perspective, face, so there are some that are internal related and there are some that are external, right? The biggest thing we've seen with startups is many of them are not aware of their external reality. Like you're running, you're doing your thing. And you find even guys who are doing their thing and then had not factored in this whole currency fluctuation we've had. They had not factored it in. But you import stuff. And COVID kind of taught you like you're importing things from China, disruption will happen. Then there was this ship that blocked this canal. And then there was this whole war in the Middle East. But guys just kind of ignore all those things and just are hopeful because they read a newspaper or they turn on to TV and someone says, we are working on it. So you don't hedge, you don't plan around that. You put all your eggs in one basket. And I think those are some of the ways we are trying to help entrepreneurs, not only as Growth Africa, but ecosystem. How do we make this external knowledge available? Industry, competitive knowledge available. So an entrepreneur can make decisions based on what they're reading. So it could just even be exposure. Maybe read The Economist, read Business Daily, or read some of those, because sometimes we just are always in the grind. We are always in the dance floor. We are just dancing. We don't take time to go on that balcony and just see like, hey, these moves are not, what's happening here. So we really help with that. And then the other one is planning and execution. Guys don't plan. Guys execute, but not from a plan. It's like, and if we can get that culture here, like plan, then execute, and then that discipline and that diligence and stay in power, not that something just comes and then already you're pivoting already. So how are we solving the challenge of planning and execution? Giving the entrepreneurs this framework to really understand, why did you start your business? What drives you? What motivates you? And our sessions are so intense. We're not talking about the general packaging. Don't come and tell me you want to save the world when you're saying, I want to save me and my family. Like there are those conversations we need to have, because people feel a need to say, I'm so concerned about this person, climate change, or someone now pitches and like this warrior kind of pitch, but we know deep down for you, money, and then your family, like, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong. Like, you've decided you want to live in a certain place, you want to do certain things. I mean, everybody has the ambition, right? But we're not saying wealth creation we're not telling you not to create wealth. but we want you to create wealth for you and also the rest of the world and the rest of the community. So I think it's that thing in planning and execution when we dig deep, and that's how we separate. Because now when I'm having that conversation with you and I can sense this thing is not the real reason you exist, I might not put energy in you because my vision is this is what I want to do. So if I feel it's not the core for you, then you're not the right entrepreneur for me. So helping guys to plan and then execute. Have a plan. What's your growth plan? Then how are you going to execute it? What resources do you require? Either material, people, yeah, and stuff like that. Then the other way we help them with that is then now connecting them to mentors. So a mentor is for us a person who has gone through the process. I started a business, it failed. Oh, I know. Or maybe I work in a big organization and I kind of know the inner workings of every department. So I'm coming and I'm giving you experience. I'm like, that thing you're trying to do, there's no need. We've been there, done that, seen that, done it. Let's move on. And then we also have what we call sages. For us, sages are like people who are experts in a particular vertical. Now, you might be having a challenge with maybe as part of your go-to-market strategy, you want to introduce digital solutions or something. I'm not necessarily an expert. So I'll have to find somebody who can help you to do that, connect you to that person. So even our team, internally, we call them catalysts and not consultants because we're just catalyzing your growth. So those are some of the things, connecting the entrepreneurs to the right people and also giving them the right tools and frameworks so someone can actually sit and analyze, not get stuck with a problem, but sit down and say, why am I facing this challenge? What is the root cause of this challenge? How am I going to solve this challenge? And I think it's still the same. How many entrepreneurs are we impacting that actually their businesses continue and they're creating jobs? So success for me is, has your revenue increased? Have you created more jobs? And I think this year it's more really a lot of ecosystem building. Can we get more players that we can impact, build their capacity, now peers? But success for us is businesses that actually we can pinpoint. The entrepreneur is confident. The entrepreneur has also built a team that is confident. The entrepreneur is also producing products and services that are out there in the market, solving the problem that was meant to be solved.